Hey, this is John Young with DJN TV and PBN TV, depending upon which channel you're watching tonight. Thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight, we're going to be digging into a little bit about some of the thoughts and changes that are happening within the home-based business world. A lot of us as solo entrepreneurs type of a thing, situation, what have you, DJs, photo booth operators. A lot of us have had side jobs and we've been doing some things had the job and then we've been doing our other things on the side, or we have been doing this as a business where we have been out in having office space and different things. There's a move right now to move some of the office things back to homes. Some of the people who are working in offices are moving their day job back to their homes. And there's more people who are going to be in that world of working out of the house. So we're going to dig into that a little bit tonight. And then I've got, we're going to wrap the show up tonight with, I've got 12 tips on working from home. Now, this is something that Lori and I have been working at from home for, this week, she's actually celebrating the 20th year. She's starting her she's been doing the local newspaper here for 20 years, and it's been happening out of this office and the house, depending upon the years and such. But she started here for a while, there, and then came here, and then she went back there. We've worked basically out of the house for a long time. So there's some tips and such that we're going to be sharing at the end of the show, but let's dig into it tonight. If you've got any questions or thoughts, put those into the chat room. Chris, I see that you're there. David, thank you guys for joining. Just put any thoughts in the chat room. If there's something that you have found has helped you working from home, put those in the chat room and I'll share those with everyone. Basically, I'll share them with the class because people could be commenting on Facebook, on Twitch. We're out there on Twitch tonight and on different YouTube channels, different Facebook pages and groups. Just put your comments in there and then I'll share those as we're going along tonight. So first off, one of the big things about home-based businesses is 20 some years ago. Now, and I'm not going for those who grew up in a farming community, those obviously are home-based businesses. This isn't going to fit or isn't going to go with that. Farming has been a home-based forever, and there's been different stigmas with that, both good and bad. We're not going to touch any of that tonight. We're going to look at different things that are businesses that are set up in your house, but it isn't quite a retail situation. It's something that you're able to serve the community from that base, but it isn't like you're growing things, which you could be, and that could be a home-based business, but we're not going to get into the farming side of it because that has a whole different dynamic. But 20 years ago, if somebody said that they worked from home or they had a home-based business, really the thing that we were hearing and thinking about was that they probably were doing something like an Amway, where they had this little catalog and they could sell you something. Any number of those multi-level marketing things were really kind of the initial kind of feel when people would talk about a home-based business. That obviously has changed over the years as more people have been able to take up their businesses and move them to their house, and doing things online has really helped that process because there's so much more that we can do for businesses based out of the home. But that stigma was a real stigma. And I think there's those of us who have been working out of the home, you almost have this feeling at times that you're not doing enough. You're not working all the time because you are based out of the house. And I think a lot of us struggle with that, is that we want to go and be productive with our time. We want to be able to do things to help our business. And at times you feel because, I can go on and make lunch and I can go and get a snack and I can go and do this. You're not always behind that computer. And there's this level of guilt that is a home-based business that we have. The stigmas aside, now we have this personal guilt that can kind of eat at us a little bit. And those things really make it feel, there have been numerous times where, especially in the DJ world, you figure this isn't a real job. Here I am, and it's a Tuesday afternoon, and I just finished doing contracts and such, and now I'm going to go out and go sit out in the sun for a while, whatever. It just had that stigma sometimes from some people, and it had that feel, which is something that we as business owners need to get over, because even when I was teaching full time, I didn't have a class every hour. I had my prep hour, and then I had a study hall hour, which is basically another prep hour. So of my 7 hours that I was teaching during the day, 2 of them were off. And then, of course, there was the lunch break that we had in there. And then I had my prep before school and prep after school, which were all, quote, paid time. Some of those were down times where I really didn't have anything that I was doing. So it's like, you start thinking about it. Even though we're working at home, we're going to have some times. And we'll talk about some of those in the tips a little bit later. So it's more acceptable today. The second one here is Today, a home-based business, especially with the pieces and tools and such and all the things online, we can make a home-based business look like it's a big-time business. You can be a sales fulfilling or an order fulfilling business where people are calling and ordering things or ordering it on your website, and then you're having it drop shipped to them. You can look like a very, very big entity and still be working out of the house. Today, there are just so many things that help you to make you look very big time. And if you treat it as a profession and you handle it professionally, when you do your video chats, if you have an area set up that you can do that, people won't know if you're in the office at the top of a skyscraper or if you're in your office, your home office. You can do things today and make it look absolutely big time, which is something you couldn't do a number of years ago. Mention tools. There's a lot of great tools, and you guys are going to be able to probably throw out tools. I just listed a few of them here. Obviously, Zoom has become a big thing that everybody is using right now during this quarantine time frame. But the idea behind any of those, whether it's Zoom or the new Messenger app that they're just launching, that'll allow us to do a Zoom type meeting. Messenger's really pushing hard on that, so you guys keep an eye out on the next week or so here. Thank you guys for joining me. TM, Howie, Ron, thank you for being with. Lots of tools out there. The video chat world has really become a huge part of businesses, whether it's a business to business from office to office, or if it's office to home, or if it's home to home. These tools have really become a leveling of the playing field for a lot of people. And as this technology has become, first off, more available, secondly, more accepted, this is going to open up some doors for a lot of people to move from a office job to working from the home or working out of their home. And that's going to change the dynamic of our society in some ways. And I'll get to that just a little bit with that. There's things, if you're running a small business and you need to handle invoicing, it used to be that you either created something in a document, which looked dumpy, or you had to use something like QuickBooks, which is expensive. Today, you've got PayPal, you can send money back and forth, Venmo that you can send money back and forth. There's Cash App that you can send money back and forth. But PayPal and Square both have the ability to create invoices that can be printed out and look pretty good, and to be able to handle some of that billing things. These tools are there for us as small businesses to use to run our business. And Stripe has just a ton of things that you can implement with your website and taking credit card and payments and such. There's great tools out there. There's things like Microsoft and Microsoft's ability to buy one license and have it on 3 or 4 of your machines at the same time legally, so that you can have not only your main computer, your main office computer, but you can have that laptop. So like today, it was a beautiful day here in Minnesota. You could take the laptop out and sit out on a patio, and I could putz on some things out there and kind of putting together some thoughts and ideas, and still be there to enjoy the kids out playing in the sandbox. As a home-based business, I can do things like that on these nicer days like this. And of course, with the kids being home because of the schools being all shut down, they're out there, in essence, doing their recess time, because tomorrow it's going to be raining and it'll be all-day school day. But again, there's the software that you can be able to hand files back and forth with, like Dropbox. I can create a document in Dropbox, and I can shut that application down on that computer, open it up on my laptop, work on it, and then shut my laptop down, then go back to my other computer, and things move back and forth with Dropbox and other programs like that so well today that really you can be productive in a variety of different spots. And of course, I mentioned the different video chats and those things. I think that's probably going to be the biggest game changer. Is that 4 years ago, 2014, we started using Zoom, and we were one of the first in few companies or businesses that were using Zoom for the chat. It was they were just getting started up. I think it started in 2012. So they were in that infancy kind of walking stage at that particular time, and they've grown a lot since then. But I think now it's become so accepted, and people understanding that this tool can be used in so many ways, and people are getting used to it. Although you could tell when you get a person who's not a Zoom person, and they do this, they're watching the window over here and saying, oh yeah, they're looking at the person they're talking to. They're not looking at the camera. They're not looking at you. They're not engaging that side. They're, oh yeah, yeah, well, yeah, there's this great thing going on, and it's wacky, oh yeah, wonderful, but they're not looking. These types of things, those little nuances of online connection and communication. If you're going to do client meetings, be sure to look at the camera. Don't look at them all the time. So if this would be the window that they would be in. And how does this look compared to how does this look? So video conferencing is the future, and it's going to be a huge thing. These tools and this ability and this stigma that has been erased for people working out of the house is really going to be a trend you're going to see. And this is an interesting thing, that realtors outside the city, outside the suburban and urban, or the urban and suburban, in the more rural areas and the smaller towns, and I say smaller towns, 50,000 and under, would be big. I'm talking towns of 3 to 5,000 or 500 to 1,500, that size of communities that are 1 or 2 hours away from the larger metro areas. These communities right now the realtors in some of these communities are having inquiries from people who did their office job. And now for the last 4 weeks, they have been working from home. They're finding out that they can be as productive at home as they would there. And they don't have to be in the office. And as those thought processes start to go through their minds, they're thinking, why should I pay a rent of $4,000 a month on this house? I can get a house, an hour away. I can pay half the amount, have a bigger house, have a nicer area, good schools in an area where my kids can go outside and run around. You're going to see a trend of people starting to move their home-based businesses and moving their work from home situations to these outside, or these more, whether it's into the suburbs area or beyond into the more of a country or the rural area. You're going to see that happening more and more because it's become acceptable, because people are going to be able to do their video work and their video conferencing at a level and be able to participate back in the office. What does that mean for us as entertainers? This means that the days of us going and meeting a lot of these people because they wanted to be face-to-face, it isn't going to be quite as important as it once was, especially right now where travel and the whole COVID thing, where they're talking social distancing, maybe another 12 to 18 months. They're still talking out that far in many locations. The video conferencing, people are going to be used to it. They're going to know how it works, and they're going to embrace it. And if we as professionals can learn how to use it and use it properly, it's going to become a tool that we can use to connect with our clients. So, okay, I've got my tips. I wanted tips from working from home, and then we're going to wrap things up. I wanted to keep tonight's show short and sweet for you. Again, I've been working out of the house for close to, let's see, the last time I taught was 1995. So you do the math. 2005, 2015. Yeah, 25 years. I've been basically working out of the house here. First thing I would recommend is you need to create kind of a regular schedule and a routine early in the day. My routine is basically like to try to get up summer, winter, what have you. I'm getting up somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning. I get up and I like to get a cup of coffee going, make sure there's no emails that take about 5 minutes to do emails. Here's a vice. There's a website that has a daily great price on tools type of thing, and I have to check that in the morning first thing to make sure there isn't a tool that I didn't know I needed. I check that. Then I go and read the morning paper. That's kind of my morning, and then we progress from there. You need to have that routine and a regular schedule. It's tough to go and be working from home. One day you start at 7, one day you start at 11, one day you start at 10, one day you don't get in until 1. That is a path for failure, working from home or working with your own business. So set a routine, especially to start the day. After lunch, your schedule can be a variety of different things. It could be whatever you want, to fill in and such. But most businesses and most work from home, having that morning, if you can really dedicate those, that 9 to noon, 8 to noon, whatever it turns out to be, you can dedicate those hours. You can cover more in those 4 hours in the morning by having your schedule and consistency than you could in an 8-hour day working in most offices. So having that schedule and a routine to start your day. Maintaining regular hours, which is kind of a build off that. The second one is maintaining regular hours. That means that Monday through Friday, these are my hours. I don't want to deviate from those. That also means that on weekends that I'm going to try to keep those hours as much as possible. Yes, as a DJ who's going to be sometimes playing late at night, that becomes difficult. And it gets to be to a point, there's times where I almost question when you put in that 17 to 18 hour day at a wedding and then your 3 or 4 days are shot. It's like, okay, so that wedding that I just made this much money for really has to cover 3 days because I really couldn't get back to being really seriously productive until Tuesday because of my hours and everything being off. Those are things your person's got to weigh out as you're going through. But having that schedule and keeping it will make you more productive. getting off that schedule, even for one night, and blowing that schedule for a few days can really ruin your productivity. So keeping those regular hours and keeping the schedule is important. Next one, maintaining a workspace. Have a workspace. This is my video space. I have one here. I've got another video space on the other side that I do my things at. And then I have a little spot in the house where I do my work. I try not to take work and do work in our upstairs where we have our little movie area where we watch movies with the kids. I don't take work up there. I don't take work, go to bed and take work to bed, that type of thing. I've got my spots where I do things, even when it comes to in the living room. I have a chair that I'll watch the news or watch something, and that one I'll check email or edit videos that are going to go live on YouTube. Then I have my other chairs where I don't do videos. So if I'm going to come in, I'm going to kind of work on the side as I'm watching something. That's that spot. Then if I go to the other, I'm not going to touch anything. It's not like I'm going to bring the laptop over there. I try to maintain that separation between workspace and my more relaxing space. That's recommend that quite a bit. And that fourth one is scheduling breaks in a day. So it's generally around 10:30 in the morning, I try to have kind of a break and get away from things so I can go and I can work very intently on something, take a break for a little bit and maybe go do something else. Maybe that's just walking out to the office here and checking to make sure everything's fine, whatever it is, just to get up, go get the mail, whatever it is, to take 10 to 15 minutes to just get up and moving. That's probably the biggest thing of working from home is that once you get in your chair, you may sit there for 4 hours. In an office, you'd probably end up having a meeting or you'd have to go here, go there, whatever. You just sometimes need to get up and walk around a little bit. So scheduling those breaks and taking them and making sure you do them. It might be something that you're scheduling a time where you're going to get up and you're going to walk around for 10 minutes. Or you have an exercise bike. I'm going to go and it's like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go and I'm going to ride the bike for 10 minutes. Something like that, scheduling these in and making sure you stick to them is hugely important in your success of your day. Kind of building off that, make sure you get outside. Even if it's a super cold day, if you can just get outside and get some fresh air for 5 minutes is great. If you can go for a walk, wonderful. Go out and exercise, whatever you can do. But getting out of the house, because once you start working in the house and that becomes your office and it becomes your home and your leisure area, and you don't get out of the house, it will eat at you very, very quickly. Make sure you get outside. I would have time dedicated to the window of time where you can connect with coworkers and colleagues and have a time where basically you're going to ignore any calls or any messages that come in. This is my dedicated work time where I'm going to have this hour that I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to do this because I want to focus and get this part of my job accomplished. And it may not be an hour. It might be tasks. I've got 4 tasks to do. I'm going to get them done without interruption. Then after that, that's the time I'll return the phone calls. I'll give that person a call and find out, how the order is going, whatever. But don't be afraid to ignore the phone call when you're in these tasks. These tasks are important and they need your focus. They don't need a phone call and you're talking and then all of a sudden and then you forgot something over here on this very important task. Block that time for this and then have the understanding that you need to have the time here because connecting with colleagues when you're working from home is hugely important. Even if it's just to check in and say, hey, how are you doing? You need to do this when you're working from home. Phones. A lot of people, of course, we've got our cell phones and this is our life. If you're going to be working, running a business, ideally you would want to have a personal cell phone and you want to have a business phone number. You'd want to have 2 because then you can basically turn one off. I unfortunately, I have one. I have my phone, and most people out there are very respectful of that. I do occasionally get some late night calls. Ben Stowe he gets way more than I do because people who have his number call. Ideally, it'd be nice to have 2 so that way I could shut the business one off and just have my personal one. But if you don't, hopefully people will respect your time, your off time, and not be bothering and interrupting. In this day and age, though, it seems to be kind of going with having that home things. But try to do that if you can. If you can't, you're going to be living by messages that are coming in at all hours of the day and night. Number 8, naps aren't a bad thing. Basically, when you're working at home and you're not getting out and you're not doing things, sometimes you can get a little cranky. You get tired and you've had whatever. Don't be afraid to go take a 15-minute power nap. These things can make you way more productive in the afternoon than to just try to trudge through and push your way through and bowl through to the evening. Once you get done with work, at home and you have children, you have a significant other at home, they don't want you to be this drawn out, crabby, spiteful person. They kind of got to watch that all day. And if they've been watching you be that grumpy person all day who needed a nap and didn't take a nap, if you're that hangry person, whatever, did you forget to eat the Snickers bar? You need to deal with those things and make sure that when the day is done, you can push that aside and you can engage them and not be this grumpy person who's going to be like, ooh, I don't want to talk to Dad. He's being yeah. If that means a nap is needed, take the nap. Sick days, when you are working from home, sick days are really a tough one, especially if you are the person who owns the business. If you're working for someone else, you can, call in sick and do what you need, you were good. If you're working from home and you're a sole proprietor type of a situation, it's a little bit different because you've got things that probably need to be dealt with. Obviously, if you're super sick, you take the day off. That's just, you have to. You can't be functioning. But if you are sick, yeah, you might feel good enough to check an email or two, but life goes on. There's very few things in life that if you're that sick that can't wait until the next day. Don't be afraid to take a sick day. No one, yes, it might be delayed 24 hours or 48 hours on a response to something. Most of the people are going to be very understanding because we've all been there. We all get sick. We all get sick and we all poop. It's just the way it is. And toilet paper is scarce. So there you are. We got it out. So we talked about those important things. Take a sick day when you need it. Another thing is when you're working from home especially if you're working for yourself, is you really need to have it in mind to keep training and keep learning. And taking an online class, there's so many college courses you can take right now. You won't get credit for them, but you can learn for free. There are tons of those out there. You can read books on things in the industry, on sales and on marketing, and there's different websites and blogs and podcasts, and there's so much information out there. The important part is that dedicate that concept of learning and growing. Really make that commitment to yourself that you're going to do something. And it could be that you're going to do a half an hour every day of something that's going to help you or your business or your life. Invest that time, give yourself permission to go and try things. Sometimes some of these things might be a little scary because you're learning about something or trying something that's out, whatever. But giving yourself that permission to go out and learn and making that part of your daily routine as a business person will make it so you're going to grow and grow. If you're not learning and you're not growing, you're basically doing the same things as you did yesterday. And after a time, those same things you did yesterday, there's a kind of an attrition that happens. And you went from being good, and over time, your skills start to diminish. If you're not learning and growing your skills are diminishing. So make sure you dedicate that time. For those of you, David said he's going to call Howie a party pooper, but then I talked about toilet paper and it was going to get all weird. Yeah. Thanks, David. Let's see. Number 10. That was 10 was training and such. Number 11. Don't be afraid to take an occasional afternoon off. You've worked in your morning and maybe you've got things down so much that you can take most of your afternoons off. Perfect. That's ideally that's a great week for me to be able to do that. Work in the morning, afternoon off. But if you don't have it so you can do that all the time, don't be afraid to do that once in a while. Like Mike Walter, every once in a while, you'll hear him talk about it's a beautiful day. He's headed to the beach in the afternoon. Do things like that. That's a recharging of your battery. Sometimes when we're working and we're seeing these four walls and we're seeing the same people day after day, especially during these quarantine times, you need something to recharge your battery. Find out what that is. Sometimes it's taking the afternoon off and going to the beach. Maybe taking the afternoon off and going for a bike ride or going for a longer walk than you typically do. Or it might be going out and getting an axe and splitting wood or cutting wood like lumberjack Ben Stowe does. Whatever it is, find that thing that works for you and don't be afraid to take the time off to go do that thing that's going to recharge your battery. The final one, try to find something funny or some way to laugh a few times a day. Maybe there's a funny meme or something to that effect. Really, that's about the only thing I'd really recommend on Facebook right now. There's so much stuff out there. There's misinformation. There's this, that, the other thing. Try to find people on Facebook who share funny things and follow them. Find a humor spot and go and check that out. Something that will give you that little chuckle, give you those endorphins that you get from laughing. You need those, especially during these kind of sad, kind of gloomy times. Is having that moment. If there's someone out there who lifts you up and makes you smile, put them on your calendar to call a couple of times a week and talk to them and just be part of that positivity. Again, that smile and the laughter, it releases those endorphins, and it's going to make you a much happier person and a much nicer person to be around as you work from home. Okay, I'm just going to the chat room. Never ignore. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chris mentions, of course, and then use on your schedule from 3 to 3:15. Go through and delete the DJ request to like their Facebook pages. That's a great use of your afternoon time. Yeah, David mentions, of course, the coworkers from that. Now they're all working from home from his day job, that they use Zoom chat occasionally just to see each other's face. It's interesting, David, if you've been hearing how people are talking about that, is that, we had this before the Zoom thing. People would have this idea that I've got to look all prim and proper and such. And as we first did the Zoom thing, they were trying to make themselves look incredibly well and look good. But as we have high def cameras, and we have high def cameras here, and then my face can be the size of your it can be 3 feet tall, depending on your TV, if you put it on TV. That it's down to the point where for a lot of people, it's like, they're going to see the rust, they're going to see the dents, they're going to see the blemishes. Let's just move on. The whole vanity side, the Zoom has changed our level of vanity, and it'll be interesting to see how that vanity transitions to Hollywood. If we're going to see a difference in that, where there's going to be a different concept of beauty, and it's all based on the whole Zoom world. So. Anyway, so just a shorter show tonight. I just wanted to do a quick little one here on some thoughts and such for working out of the house, working for with your home-based business. I want to thank you guys for being with and chatting tonight. We got about a half hour here. Then Dan and I are going to be back and talking about what do you do with those canceled events, and we're going to dig into that one just a little bit this evening and talk to you about some of the legal things that are popping up now because of these. Because yes, I knew this was coming, and now we get to talk about some of those situations. So that will be at the top of the hour. Hey Josh, thanks for joining us out on Facebook. Appreciate you bouncing in. The video will be up on YouTube at the very top of the chat. You will find the link for the YouTube video. That's where this video will be for those of you who want to grab it afterwards. Final thing with Zoom tonight. Once we're done with our shows this evening, you can go out to DJN TV. Well, you can go out there actually right now, djntv.com/chill. There's our chill rooms open every night. You guys can pop out there and chat for a little while, and Dan and I will be back at the top of the hour. Thanks again.